Alright guys, so what we're going to do here first is we're going to set up our project by setting up our file, getting into our code editor, and grabbing the images that we're going to need for the project, as well as the fonts. So we might even do some global styles in our CSS style sheet, and I'll show you what all that means. But before I start any project, I do like a general setup. I don't just jump into coding. I'll get all my images and my fonts and everything set up. So we're gonna do that first. So I'm gonna go to my get out of this and go to my desktop. And I already have a VS Code open, but I'm gonna make a new folder for this project. And I'm gonna call mine. I'll call it Workit tutorial. You call yours whatever you want. I'm on Mac, so I'm just gonna make my folder on my desktop, and then I'm going to go into my VS Code and go to Open, Desktop, and we got Workit tutorial right there. So there we got our empty document. Okay, and I'm gonna make our index.html and our style sheet. I'm gonna call it style.css, and then I'm going to make a folder for images called img. And so for the images, I already have them in a folder that I downloaded from frontendmentor.com. If you don't have a Frontend Mentor account or you're not a part of the website, I will have all the images that you can grab out of my GitHub repository, and I'll post that in the description to the videos so you can get it that way. But what I'm going to do is grab my images from my folder really quick on my other screen, and I'm going to copy paste them into this project here. That. And there's all the images. And again, you get that. I got that from Frontend Mentor just by downloading the starter files that already have the images in there. Another way that you could do it is you could go into the Figma file and like get each image separately by clicking on it and clicking export down here. But I mean, it's going to take time, so you might as well, if a developer that you're working with at like a job or a designer already sends you the images extracted for you, that's nice. So anytime you can do that, just do that. Just take that little shortcut. Alright. So we got our images. That's going to include the phone, these background images, this guy right here, this image, and it looks like we have a couple logos and some social icons. So those are the images that we're going to be using. And now I'm going to just set up my boilerplate code for our file. So I'm going to go back to my VS Code here. And again, I'm in Visual Studio Code. This is basically like the top dog for text editors nowadays, especially for front-end development. So if you don't have VS Code, you can just type in Visual Studio Code to Google. I recommend that you download it and get familiar with it. This isn't going to be a full tutorial on Visual Studio Code, but I'll teach you some of the basics really quick. So when you make your HTML file, you can hit Shift exclamation point and then Tab, and that'll give you the shortcut to create your boilerplate code for HTML file. And then up here I'll put, like, from the title of my page, I'm going to put Workit sign up or something like that, because, like, you know, like if this is a landing page where you're going to sign up, would say something like that up top. And then I'm going to go ahead and link. So I'm going to type a link in tab. Again, that's another shortcut for Visual Studio Code. That'll give you the link with the style sheet code and all that, so you can connect your CSS. So I'm going to type style and then enter style.css. I'm going to create an H1 that just says test, so I can make sure that I'm linking my style sheet correctly. And then I'm going to go into the style sheet of my CSS, and I'm going to do a browser reset that gets rid of the default margin, padding, and sizing of elements that browsers have. So Chrome, Firefox, Safari, they all have default margins and paddings, and you want to get rid of them when you're making a new project, else it's going to mess up your design. So I'm going to say margin 0, padding 0, and box sizing, border box. And that'll just ensure that we're starting from scratch. So I'm going to go on my bottom right corner here. It says go live. I'm going to click that, and it's going to open what we just made in my default web browser, which is going to be Google Chrome. If you're new to Visual Studio Code, you can go click here where it says extensions. You can type in live, and live server will be the first one that pops up. It's the most popular extension, and then you'll hit install. I already have it installed, so it's not there. And then you'll be good to go. You might have to relaunch Visual Studio Code, but then you'll be able to launch it. And this is good because it'll show you your updates in real time. So I'm going to hit go live here. And then I'm going to make it so you guys can see what I see. So I'm going to make this half the screen. Bring our document over here. And as you can see, it says test. It doesn't look like we have any margin or padding. And then usually what I do is I'll give my test H1 a color just to make sure that it updates. So I'll say color red. So let's see if test goes red. And it did. So, and then I'm saving after that. I do manual saves. That's just how I'm used to developing. And for a manual saving, you hit the Command S on Mac. And then for PC, I don't even remember what it is. You just look up how to save PC. I haven't used a PC keyboard in a long time, or a Windows keyboard, I should say. But yeah, so you'll see me saving a lot as I work. You can turn on autosave. I just never do, and I'm just so used to working this way. But anyway, our style sheet is connected, and then while I'm here, I'm gonna make global styles that I pretty much make for all my projects that I already know I'm gonna need. So I'm just gonna label it with a CSS comment, global styles. And one of the things I always do is I make a container for my designs. Like I make like a container class that you'd find in a framework for CSS like Bootstrap or Foundation or any of the popular frameworks. I just make my own. So call it .container width. I give it a width of 90%. So that's just going to basically give padding on the sides of my design wherever I put the container, so that it's not, my design isn't leaking all the way out to each side. And then I'm going to say max width 1100 pixels. Actually, we'll do like 1440, since screens for desktop are super wide nowadays. And margin auto, make everything centered. And now we have that little utility container class that I can use at any time that I want to add padding to a design. So just to show you what that does, I'm just going to hit .container. That's another shortcut for VS Code, and hit tab, and I'll have a div with the class of container, and I'll put test in there, and you're going to see that's going to now get padding on the sides. So we're going to go ahead and save. And we put margin auto, and now we can see that we've got our test H1 in a container. And if we go look at the design, everything's in a container. So It's probably not in that far though, now that I'm looking at it. Instead of 90% width, we'll do 95. I think that'll look better. Let's see, yeah. Okay. Don't want our stuff to be like too into the middle. So we'll do width 95. And yeah. Next we'll get we have our images. I'm gonna add a couple more global styles. All of my anchor tags I want to be text decoration none, because by default if you make like a link it has that annoying underline. So we're gonna get rid of that. And anytime I make a list item, when I'm making like a navigation or something, you know that when you make list items they have that little bullet point by default, so I'm just gonna say list style type or list style none, so I don't have to do that in the future. And for my paragraphs, by default I like to have a line height of 1.6 to make the text more readable. And I'll show you what line height is later on when we do a paragraph, but it's like the text, it's when text is on top of each other, it's the spacing in between it, so it'll space the lines out. And then this will be a good time for us to add our fonts. So let's go to our design file and go over to the area where it'll tell me what fonts we're using. So it says we're using Francis font. I'm assuming this is a Google font for our headings. It's Francis and Francis. And then for the body text, which is going to be our paragraphs and links, it's going to be a font called Manrope. So let's go to Google Fonts and get those. I'm going to go here and say Google font. And anything I have here I'm just going to remove. I think I already tried them out earlier. Okay. Let's type in Francis. And here it is. So I think it said semi-bold. Yeah, so semi-bold is what we're supposed to grab on the weight of the font. So we got regular, thin, semi-bold is right here. And that's a font weight of 600. Is that it? See, semi-bold. So it says semi-bold, then it's just different sized headings. So I guess, yeah, just semi-bold with different font sizes. And now we're going to get this Manrope font. So let's go ahead and grab that. And the font weight for that is going to be regular, which is usually like 400. So scroll down, Manrope, regular 400. Bam. Should have our fonts in here now. Yep, both here. So I'm going to copy this code here and put it in above my style sheet. So let's go back to VS Code. And I'm going to paste it above my CSS style sheet. Those are our fonts. And then I'm going to grab those font family code. And I'm going to bring it and just paste it here for now. And then now we can update our global styles. We know that our H1, H2, and H3 headings, so the main headings that we'll probably be using on this page are going to be the Francis font. So I'll say H1, H2, H3, and then we'll go up here and put the font family to the Francis font here. And then our paragraphs and our links, so say P A. Our paragraphs and our links are both going to have a font size of 18 pixels by default. And they're going to have the man rope font. So go ahead and add that here. Bam. I think it's at 18 pixels. Let's make sure. Yeah, body, regular, man rope, 18 pixels. So, cool. All right. So now we got our fonts situated. We got all of the global styles that we want. We know our CSS is working and connected. Let's see if our H1 is showing up as the Francis font. Let's see. Yep. Definitely changed to that font, so that's good. So we're all set here. We have everything basically set up and ready to go to build our page. We have our images and everything and our fonts. So I'm going to stop this video here, and then in the next one we will start to build the header. We're going to build this part up here, this header, and then we're also going to make it responsive after we build the desktop one. So we'll do that next. So yeah, go ahead and we'll stop here, and then we'll pick up in the next video.